Thank you, Good afternoon, Dr. Rosenberg.
Good afternoon, sir.
I took your deposition on August 5th, and we went over all of your opinions, correct?
We went over all my opinions, but it's very clear that you didn't ask me for all the factors in support of my opinions.
Okay. But I did take your deposition, and it took about 2 hours, a little bit less, correct?
Yes, sir. You were extremely polite and professional, which I appreciate.
Thank you, Doctor. So you testified today that you billed $30,000 in this case. Is that often the charges that you bill for the type of case that's litigated and without the time for trial, of course, up until trial? Is that a reasonable amount of billing in a case like this?
I would say in a complex case that spans over years, that's probably true of maybe 25% of my litigation matters that I work on.
Okay. And in addition to the $30,000 that you received, you were also paid $1,800 by my office, correct?
Yes, sir, for my deposition fees.
And for today, you're being paid another $10,000 to prepare and appear here and testify and go back and forth. Is that fair?
I think that's reasonable, yes, sir.
Could it be higher than that amount?
I don't think so. I think that's a reasonable estimate.
So my estimate is about $40,000, correct?
Yes, sir, I think that's very reasonable.
And in the past 29 years, you testified at your deposition, or I can ask you now, isn't it true that in 70 to 80% of cases you testified on behalf of the defense up until recently, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a well-known lawyer that we all know, no need to mention names, but recently he's been giving you some more work, so your 70 to 80% has gone down to 60%, correct?
More work on the plaintiff side, that's correct.
And as far as the attorneys, Cardi B had an attorney before Mr. Kossoff and other lawyers. In working with their firm, you worked in 5 other cases with them?
That sounds about right, sir, yes.
And with their new law firm, Davis, Wright, and Tremaine, with Mr. Peterson, Mr. Lamb, and all the other attorneys involved with them, you worked in 15 cases with their office, correct?
Objection. Same facts.
Yes, over the past 20 years or so, that's correct, though I've never worked with these particular attorneys before.
And would you agree that in 90% of cases that you were hired in, you basically remain the expert on the case and you don't withdraw, correct? About 90%.
I apologize, I don't recall a case in which I have withdrawn.
So are you saying that every single time the defense hires you in a case, you remain the expert in that case without giving them an opinion before you testify?
Objection. This states.
Is that what you were saying, sir?
Assisting.
So when you were hired by Cardi B's office, by her lawyers, when were you hired approximately?
I believe it was sometime early in 2023.
Okay. And when you were hired in 2023, did you ask, well, strike that. Did you examine Emani Ellis in 2023, right? Or was it 2024? Sorry.
Sorry, I mean to interrupt you, sir. I believe it was July 21st of 2023.
Okay. Did you ever do any type of examination on Cardi B at any point?
Given that would be inappropriate since she wasn't the plaintiff with a psychiatric claim, I did not, sir.
Right, but she was involved in some type of altercation, correct?
Objection. Incomplete hypothetical.
I don't think it's relevant. It's not relevant whether she has any damages or not.
And what is your understanding as to what is the basis of this claim? What is Emani Ellis' claim? Why is she here in court?
My understanding is that she felt that she was verbally mistreated by Cardi B, including foul or demeaning language, that Cardi B touched her face with a long fingernail and caused some injury to her face. and that also resulted a month later in Ms. Ellis being fired from her security job.
Okay. Do you know, in psychiatry, do you treat patients that deal with assault and battery?
In my patient care practice, putting aside legal matters?
Yes.
Let me just object for vague and ambiguous as to deal with.
Do you, I'll strike that. Have you treated patients for injuries related to assault and battery in your career since 1994 as a psychiatrist?
A few hundred times, from very simple to extremely severe injuries.
When you say simple, what is an example? What are you saying to us?
Yes. So by simple, I don't mean to say it's not important or it's not serious to the person, but I mean, for example, let's say somebody being pushed or a hand on a shoulder in an aggressive way or something like that, all the way up to people who are beaten and kicked on the ground with skull fractures and being hit over the head with clubs and pistol whips, a variety of things, stabbed.
And when you treated the various patients, would you treat them more than once? The ones that you're speaking of?
Typically, I mean, it depends on the setting. As a medical doctor, I used to spend a lot of time in emergency rooms, so there it might be once. But over the course of my career, overwhelmingly, particularly 22 years in a non-profit clinic in Van Nuys, I would treat them on a repeated basis. Some of them I would treat for many years, although those tended to be individuals with major mental disorders like bipolar or schizophrenia.
Okay, and if you could just look at the other binder on your left, please.
Pardon me one sec, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Where should I look?
Yes, if we can look at Exhibit 1-003.
I'm there, sir.
At the time of your deposition, had you reviewed this page?
Objection. Beyond the scope of direct.
As best I recall, sir, I had not reviewed this particular page.
Okay. Do you remember in your deposition, I asked you if you'd reviewed all of Miss Emani Ellis' medical bills? Do you remember that?
I apologize. I vaguely remember that, and I don't remember what my answer was.
Is he designated for medical bills?
No.
Then I don't know why we're going down this route.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. If we can go to Exhibit number 2.
I'm at Exhibit number 2, sir.
You reviewed the medical records and bills of Dr. McKinsey, correct?
Yes, I haven't done so recently, but I did earlier in this case.
And we went over this together at the time of your deposition, and you expressed that for purposes of workers' compensation, the treatment was reasonable, but maybe for this case it's not. Do you remember testifying to that, Doctor?
Objection beyond the scope of direct and also beyond the scope of this expert's designation.
Do you have his resolution? What's in the binder?
Tab 8.
The address is the same.
As far as any type of physical injury, isn't it true that you are not giving any type of expert opinion about physical injury, correct?
aside from her inconsistent reports of whether or not she was actually touched on the face by the fingernail, that's correct, sir. I'm not a plastic surgeon. Other than that, I'm not giving any testimony with regard to physical injuries.
And when she came to your office, did you examine her face to see if she had a scar?
As I do
So
with,
yes or no? I'm sorry.
well, I observed her across the table for several hours. I didn't specifically examine her face.
Did you,
beyond that.
did you have an intention to look for the scar on her face? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did you physically go up to her face and look to see if there was a scar?
No, sir.
That's it. Are you giving any opinions about Miss Emani's physical scar on her face, whether she has one now, she had one from this incident, anything to do with her plastic surgery? Giving any of the opinions about that?
Objection, incomplete hypothetical, also beyond the scope. Also hypothetical.
Okay, and in formulating your opinions, did you review Miss Emani Ellis's medical records?
Yes, sir, and those were extremely important to me, actually.
Okay. And you reviewed the medical records from Nicole McKenzie, is that correct? Is that her? Do you remember that?
I haven't recently, but I have in the past, yes, sir.
You can look at it. Did you review Exhibit 2?
Yes, sometime before my deposition, but I've not looked at them since.
And you reviewed Exhibit 3?
Yes, sometime before my deposition, but not since.
Okay. And you reviewed Exhibit 4? And Exhibit 5?
Let me take a look here. Pardon me one second.
Objection, compound.
As best I recall, yes, but not recently.
And in formulating your opinions, did all of these exhibits assist you in your formulating opinions and coming up with your opinions for us today?
The Kaiser records were extremely important because she had several visits and didn't report a single emotional problem, didn't ask for any care related to this
Objection,
case.
non-responsive.
So it's a yes or no question. Did you rely on the records in forming your opinions?
Only the Kaiser records.
I didn't ask you about the Kaiser record.
Oh, I'm sorry. You had asked me about the Kaiser records earlier. You mean just the ones that I'm looking at in the notebook?
I never said the word Kaiser. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess when you said medical records, that's what I was interpreting.
Yeah, I'm talking about the medical records from Dr. McKenzie, a psychologist, the medical records from Dr. Avila, a psychologist, the medical records from Dr. Mulliken, a plastic surgeon, and the medical records from Dr. Norman, pain management doctor. Did you review these records? You testified a moment ago, yes. And the question is, did you use these 4 medical records in formulating any of your opinions that you testified to today here in court?
No, sir.
Okay, so when you said there was inconsistencies, didn't you mean that, well, strike that. When you said there's inconsistencies, you found those in the medical records that I just asked you about? Isn't that true?
Maybe I had previously. I don't recall if that's in my deposition testimony, but I did not consider those in formulating my opinions for today. It was the Kaiser records.
Okay, the Kaiser records that you're speaking of. Isn't it true that the Kaiser records, any medical treatment that Emani Ellis received at Kaiser, it has nothing to do with this case. It has nothing to do with assault and battery.
Objection.
It's something totally unrelated, correct?
Objection, speculation, hearsay.
So we're problem solved. Sustained.
Why did Emani Ellis go to Kaiser Hospital?
Objection, speculation, hearsay.
Sustained.
Do you know why, from reading the medical records and bills, do you know why Miss Emani Ellis went to the Kaiser Permanente Hospital?
Over.
Yes, Your Honor. The answer is yes.
Okay. Why did she go to Kaiser Permanente Hospital?
Same objection.
Over.
Well, April 2022 was for an annual history and physical, a comprehensive. November 2022, comprehensive history and physical. April 2023 with a PA was for reported hand pain.
Everything that you just told us right now about Kaiser Permanente Hospital, as a medical doctor, and in reviewing all these records that testified you read, wouldn't you agree that those medical treatments have nothing to do with this incident? Agreed? Yes or no?
Objection. Very ambiguous.
Overruled.
I disagree. They're extremely important.
I didn't ask you if they're important. I agree they're important. Going to a hospital is important. My question is, if the medical treatment that was received at Kaiser Permanente Hospital, if it has any relation to medical treatment received by Emani Ellis related to this incident that occurred on February 24th, 2018. Was it?
For my purposes, yes.
Okay. So are you telling us that Miss Emani Ellis went to the hospital in 2022 and 2023 because of injuries related to this incident? Is that what you're testifying to, Doctor?
No.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. What you are telling us is you used some of the medical records from Kaiser Permanente Hospital to formulate some of your opinions in this case. Isn't that true? Maybe
Yes,
I'm
sir.
wrong. Okay, that's true.
Yes, thank you.
And you use that for your different type of studies or MMPI studies and all types of different testing that you did, correct?
Objection. Very ambiguous.
Overruled. Sustained.
But just so we're clear, the actual treatment didn't have to do with assault and battery or a physical injury. Is that correct?
Objection. Very
This
ambiguous.
has been asked and answered several times.
All right, and then I want some clarity on the other four documents. The psychological. Well, let me ask you this: as a psychiatrist, do you believe that psychological care with no medication is a respected medicine?
As a general principle, yes.
Have you referred your own patients to receive psychological care?
Oh, innumerable times, yes.
And whether it's a PsyD or PhD or some other type of psychologist that's licensed, you agree that patients can receive medical care from those types of professionals and actually benefit from that type of care. You agree?
Well, it's not medical care, but I do agree that they can receive very helpful, effective mental health care.
So are you saying mental health care is not medical care?
Objection. This is
Overruled.
In general, unless it's a psychiatrist, mental health care is much broader and refers to non-medical healthcare providers, psychologists, LMFT, social workers.
Do you believe that patients benefit from mental health treatment with no medication?
Overruled.
For the appropriate indication, yes, sir.
And how does it help if they go to a psychologist and they talk about their problems? From your perspective, you're a psychiatrist. You are the man who would know. So when a patient goes to a psychologist and they talk about their problems, and they explain their problems, why does that help the patient? Why?
Objection. Very ambiguous.
I don't know that it's relevant. So if you can establish some foundation as to why we're talking about other patients.
Did Emani Ellis receive psychological treatment in this case, based on your review of the medical records and medical bills, from two different psychologists? True?
Yes.
And from your review of the medical records, she went to 7 treatments with Nicole McKenzie and other doctors from her office. Is that true?
Objection. Beyond the scope of this expert's designation.
Overruled.
That sounds about right, sir, yes.
And she went to Dr. Avila, another psychologist, you went to his office and got treatment from other providers that work under him for a total of 12 treatments, correct?
Objection. Beyond the scope of this exercise.
Overruled.
That sounds about right. Yes, sir.
And those two psychologists, setting aside this case, is there any reason why you as a professional would not refer a patient to these two psychologists?
Objection.
I withdraw the question. If we were to talk about, do you remember at the time of your deposition, you said to me that you testified under oath that you worked alongside Dr. Mulligan in cases before. True? About 10 times?
Objection. States
Overruled.
Well, when you say alongside, I've been on the same side and on the opposite side in several legal cases, not like next to him in surgery.
I understand. But you worked alongside him, meaning you've worked on the same cases in about 10 different times, correct? That was your testimony.
Yes, I don't know if it's 10 on the same side or 10 in total on both sides, but happy to accept whatever you say.
Right. And you're affiliated with UCLA?
Not anymore. I was a professor for 16 years, but not anymore.
Okay. And Dr. Mulligan is also affiliated with UCLA? Is that how you know him?
I don't know if he's currently affiliated with UCLA or not, sir. He certainly has excellent qualifications.
Right. You said that at your deposition. Your words were, he has very impressive credentials, correct?
Yes.
Do you know Dr. Mulligan to be a clinical associate professor at UCLA?
Objection. Speculation. Beyond this expert's designation.
At your deposition, you stated that you cannot say that the diagnosis was malingering. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
What does malingering mean?
Well, yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
I didn't know if you meant that or what I meant by saying I couldn't diagnose it.
Why don't we start with what does malingering mean?
So malingering is an official diagnosis of the American Psychiatric Association. It's not a disorder, but it's a diagnosis, which refers to a pattern of intentional exaggeration, fabrication, or other manipulation in a legal context for secondary gain. For example, in a criminal case, it could be trying to appear psychotic to avoid criminal punishment. In litigation like this, typically for monetary gain.
And you testified at the deposition that you cannot say that the diagnosis was malingering. Do you remember saying that?
Ms. Ellis, absolutely, I did say that, sir.
Do you remember meeting Miss Ellis? Do you remember the encounter?
Yes.
Do you remember telling Miss Ellis that you were sorry about what she went through? Did you tell her that?
Yes, based upon her description, I told her I was sorry what she had been through, and it was a pleasure to meet her.
And the testing that you did was in 2023, 5 years later?
Yes, sir.
Would it have been beneficial to have done your testing and interview and all the different things shortly after this incident?
I think that would have been beneficial as well, but also doing it again later is also equally beneficial.
Okay. And do you remember I asked you about discovery? If you had reviewed any discovery and you said you had not. Fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you actually asked that the defense provide you with the discovery so you could review it and that you would then give us additional opinions. You remember testifying to that in your deposition?
Objection. This state's testimony.
I don't recall, but I know I said that if I received additional information of any type, I'd happily review it, consider it, and it could modify my opinions.
Have you received those discovery responses?
No, sir.
Do you remember also testifying at your deposition that it would be beneficial to your opinions to see Emani Ellis a second time? Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
And that if you saw her a second time, that it could further modify your opinions in this case, correct?
Objection to state's testimony.
Overruled.
Potentially, yes, sir.
And between 2018 and 2023, before you saw Emani Ellis, between that 5-year time span, her psychological or psychiatric condition could have changed, correct? She could have got better. She could have recovered, right? True?
I'm sorry, between 18 and 23?
Yes.
That's certainly a possibility.
Okay. And when she saw Dr. McKenzie for 7 visits and other doctors that work in Dr. McKenzie's office, those 7 visits, you said that psychological care helps. Maybe it helped her.
Objection calls respect to
Possible, correct?
Sustained.
Do you believe that Miss Emani Ellis benefited from the psychological care she received from Dr. McKenzie?
Objection.
Yes or no?
Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
And she also received, from your review of the medical records, 12 visits from Dr. Avila's office and staff. Correct? You testified to that. So would you agree that 7 plus 12 is 19 visits of psychological care? True?
Yes, I feel very confident in that. Yes.
Okay. Appreciate that. When you refer your patients out for psychological treatment, do you usually give a limit on the course of care, or maybe 5 visits, 10 visits, 12 visits, or you just refer them out to psychological providers?
I'm usually quite precise, but it also depends on the type of psychological care or psychotherapy. Some are time limited on purpose. Others could go on over the course of somebody's lifetime.
All right, so why don't we focus on what is opinion time?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Okay. Also, we talked about the distinction in your deposition between factual opinion and psychiatric opinion. And you said that you cannot say what did or did not occur in the incident. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
So basically what that means, just to break it down, is you don't know how this incident occurred. Is that fair?
Outside of a psychiatric context, that's correct. Factually, it's none of my business to determine what happened.
Okay. And isn't it true that you don't know if Miss Emani Ellis was assaulted and battered by Cardi? You just don't know, correct?
Factually, that's correct, sir.
And you also don't know if Emani Ellis was cut on her face by Cardi B. You don't know that, correct?
Objection beyond the scope of this evidence.
Sustained.
Have you ever spoken with Cardi B at all during the course of this case?
No, sir. I've never spoken to her or had any other type of communication with her.
Would it have been beneficial for you to hear Cardi B's version of what happened in this case? Would that help you in your expert opinion?
I'd certainly be happy to weigh that and give it consideration, but my focus was on emotional injuries of the plaintiff, Ms. Ellis, not on an evaluation of Cardi B.
Understood, but would it have been beneficial to at least hear her version of what occurred in the case? Would that help you?
Objection.
I withdraw the question. Thank you, Doctor. No further questions.
It's a privilege to see you again, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
All right, redirect.
Just a few questions. You testified earlier as to your understanding of the facts of this case. Could you please explain what sources that's based on?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm
sir.
sorry. You testified earlier as to your understanding of the facts of this case. Could you please explain what sources your understanding is based on?
Yes, so it's based upon my review of Ms. Ellis's deposition, the available medical and mental health records I reviewed. Again, with the understanding several of them I haven't reviewed recently. It's also based upon my detailed audio recorded several-hour interview with Ms. Ellis. And again, in the course of doing my interview, I accept hypothetically at face value that what she's telling me is correct. And then later I form my opinions, which may include opinions regarding symptom validity. But it's not my role to make a factual determination.
And all of those sources that you've reviewed, the facts come from Ms. Ellis or statements that Ms. Ellis made. Is that correct?
Yes.
And does that make sense to you that you would rely on Ms. Ellis's own statements in forming a diagnosis or lack of diagnosis as to Ms. Ellis?
Objection outside the scope.
Over.
Well, if it was a patient care setting, you typically rely only on what the patient tells you and accept at face value, that the person's there for help. In a legal context, it's not appropriate for me to accept what somebody says at face value without corroborating it against psychological testing and available records.
You testified that you did not formally diagnose Ms. Ellis with malingering. What does a formal diagnosis of malingering require, and why did you not? Scratch that. Why did you not diagnose Ms. Ellis with malingering?
Because although Ms. Ellis meets the fundamental criteria from a psychiatric standpoint of gross symptom exaggeration or outright fabrication and a pattern of inconsistencies across information, she's had so many traumas in her life, both growing up and other losses and traumas around 2018, that I can't rule out that she has some sort of emotional problems at a mild level, but they just wouldn't be related to this case.
You evaluated Ms. Ellis 5 years after the incident, according to Ms. Ellis.
Yes.
Is that correct? In your professional opinion, what is the likelihood that Ms. Ellis would not present with any emotional or psychological injuries up to that date that would be related to the incident, but then after this date would suddenly develop emotional or psychological injuries related to that incident?
Objection, vague and ambiguous, unintelligible. Now.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear it.
Over.
It makes no reasonable sense, and there's no significant likelihood that that would be the case from a medical standpoint. Again, the incident itself, taken at face value, constitutes a situational stressor, a stressful interpersonal interaction. It certainly does not constitute a trauma, as I've discussed. And for somebody to not have a psychiatric disorder and emotional injury for 5 years thereafter, but have significant evidence of symptom manipulation, and also to have the resilience to, by her own accord, report not have psychiatric problems from all the real trauma she has had in her life at other times. It makes no sense that she would suddenly develop it at this point.
Thank you. Give me just a minute. Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Response?
Yes, sir. Thank you. For any type of other types of injuries that you brought up, someone was shot at school, a family member got sick, all these other things that you brought up, where did you obtain that information from?
It's actually very ambiguous.
Over.
And it's also outside the scope. I've thought it.
Sustained.
Did you see any other psychological records or bills related to Emani Ellis prior to this incident?
Outside the scope.
Sustained.
You generated a report, correct, on November 22nd of 24?
Objection outside the scope.
Sustained. So basically one line of questioning relating to whether or not your client had a later onset of symptoms. I think you're limited to that.
Yes, ma'am. When you said, when counsel just asked you some questions about inconsistencies and malingering, you said there were inconsistencies. Where were there these inconsistencies? Was it the time when you interviewed her one time, or was it in the medical records?
Objection outside the scope.
Over.
As I had tried to explain, it was a combination of my review of the records, the psychological testing, and my interview, comparing those as well as intrinsic validity issues within some of those sources.
Which medical record shows an inconsistency? Which one?
The extremely important Kaiser medical records.
What does the Kaiser medical record say that's inconsistent?
That in, again, April 2022, she went for complete history and physical. She specifically denied any kind of mental health issues, specifically denied anxiety, sleep problems, had no reported mental health problems, no request for care. Same thing in November 2022 with Dr. Ahmad. And then in April 2023, when she went in for her hand pain with the nurse practitioner, they also did a review of systems and asked her about symptoms across the board, which is typical for Kaiser. Absolutely no emotional problems whatsoever, no request for mental health assistance.
Okay. So are you telling us that when Emani Ellis went to Kaiser Permanente on the date of November 29, 22, respectfully, when she went there for vaginal discharge, she should have told that doctor that she had psychological issues? Is that what you're saying, doctor?
Objection beyond.
Yes or no?
Over.
It was a different entry. I'm not talking
That's
about
not
that
what I'm
entry.
asking, doctor. Again, should I repeat what I said, or can you just
I don't
answer
think
the
he said he
question?
based his opinion on that record, counsel.
You reviewed this record, Kaiser Permanente, correct? You reviewed it. You just testified about it. 161 pages of records. And you said that these records show inconsistencies. And now my question is, are you telling me that my client went to Kaiser Permanente for vaginal discharge on November 29th of 22, and at that visit, she's supposed to tell the doctor that she has psychological problems? Is that your testimony, doctor?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Are you telling us that every time someone sees a doctor, a medical doctor for a cough, sees a dentist for their broken tooth, sees a podiatrist for the broken toe, they have to each time tell the doctor, I have an emotional injury, I have a psychological injury to that medical doctor? Is that what you mean?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
What do you mean by inconsistencies in the Kaiser records? Tell us in your own words.
Well, I just mentioned as example 3 key entries where she went. 2 of them were for history and physical, like general checkups, where everything was covered.
Show me in the book. Show me in the book. Blue book?
Okay, why don't you let him finish the answer before you ask him the next question?
Yes, sir.
So,
Were you done, doctor?
no, Your Honor, thank you. So again, one was April 2022, Dr. King. The next was November 2022, Dr. Ahmed. The next was nurse practitioner Leon, April 2023, where these are records where, for Kaiser electronic medical records, they asked about other types of conditions, and there were no complaints at all from her that she had a mental health problem or was asking for any kind of care, despite these profound elevations on her psych testing. And in that first one with Dr. King, April 2022, she actually specifically denied problems with insomnia or anxiety, which covers a significant aspect of her symptoms.
Doctor, my request is you show me in these 161 pages where it says what you're saying, so that I can confirm so myself. It's in front of you, in the blue book, under Exhibit 212. You're more than welcome to look at it and show it,
Objection.
so that we know the truth.
Objection, Your Honor.
I withdraw the question. Let's go to another issue, though. So, if the plaintiff's emotional injury ended before she went to Kaiser, would you agree that there would be no inconsistency because the psychological injury ended prior to that medical visit? You agree with that?
Objection. Speculation outside of the scope of the hearing.
It makes no reasonable sense. It's not possible.
Why is it not possible? Why can't she recover? She could have recovered before she went to the Kaiser. She could have recovered, couldn't she have?
Which question would you like me to answer?
Could Miss Emani Ellis have recovered in 2021 or 2022 before she went to Kaiser Hospital? Is that possible? Yes or no?
Objection. Incomplete hypothetical.
Overruled.
Taking her symptoms at face value, it's not possible and it's contradictory.
So if in her mind, in her brain, she felt that she recovered after seeing these psychologists, why would she tell Kaiser that she has a psychological problem if she recovered?
I'm sorry, counsel. So she does an exam with him in 23?
No, Your Honor.
When did she see him?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you're saying that she recovered prior to that, but then had the onset of symptoms when she's with him?
My question is if the plaintiff recovered in 2022, before she went to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, if she had recovered, would there be any reason to tell Kaiser she has an emotional injury? Yes or no?
It makes no sense.
I understand, but if it was true.
All right, I think we're done here. Do you have anything else?
In 2023, when Miss Emani Ellis saw you, did she tell you she was still experiencing emotional injuries from this incident?
Yes, in both the interview and particularly the testing.
And when she told you she was suffering from emotional injuries, did she believe that you're a psychiatrist? Did she know that?
Objection. Speculation.
Sustained.
Did you disclose to Emani
Okay,
Ellis?
we're beyond the scope here. Why don't you focus on what was in the redirect?
You said there were some inconsistencies in the Kaiser records. Isn't it true that when Emani Ellis went to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, she went there for reasons other than psychological reasons?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
In fact, aside from, I withdraw that question. The first doctor you said, Dr. King, that she saw? Dr. King, right?
It wasn't the first doctor she saw, but it was first of my 3 examples. That was April 2022, sir.
Fine. When she saw Dr. King, what did she see Dr. King for?
Objection.
I think we've fully exhausted the scope of the sign-up questioning. Do you have anything else?
Aside from the inconsistencies that you reviewed, actually, let me ask you. The inconsistencies that you're telling us about in the record, in the Kaiser records, these are non-psychological records, correct? Is that fair? I'll close with this.
Objection.
If you say yes to that, we're done.
Objection.
I just want the truth.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
All right. Any questions from the jury? I don't see a hand. All right. Can this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right, folks. That's going to bring us to our afternoon break. Why don't we get back together at 3:25? In the meantime, please do not discuss the case with anyone, including other jurors. Don't form any opinions. If you do any research, we'll see you at 3:25.